Dun 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 dun. It's the PHNX Mercury podcast.
Hey, what is up, you guys? Welcome back to the PHNX Mercury podcast, where turns out we're on the hunt for new intro music. And in the meantime, we're going to have Kevin freestyle. So,
Sounded good.
in
That was
that
one time and
case,
one time only. We will have music for the next one. Do not worry.
that kind of bums me out. I won't lie. I like that song. Was that a sneak peek of the new music, or are you trying to get us dinged
Old
again?
music snuck in. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it is a banger. I mean, an absolute banger. So rest in peace, the old intro music. Don't worry, you guys. New stuff is coming. I'm sure it's going to be pippin' and popping just like the old soundtrack. So don't you guys even worry. But as I said, welcome back to the PHX Mercury podcast. I am your host, Erika Lee Day. I'm joined by QB1, PG1, on and off the field, in and out of the studio. Stephen Pridgeon Garner. How the heck are you doing today on this fine Monday afternoon, of which I've already forgotten the time and day?
I'm chilling, catching up as well. Looking forward to a fun conversation about a team that's at 500 right now. How you doing?
Oh, just dandy. It's Monday. I woke up at 4:15 in the morning. I honestly don't even know how I'm still vertical at this very exact point because I have been yawning all day. And usually the intro music wakes me up, but as we know, there was no intro. It didn't wake me up. So, anyways, back to the intro of which I normally have. Oh yeah, we are presented by our friends over at Mountain America Credit Union, and I do say our friends. Okay, they are our friends. I love them. I'm so excited to talk about them later in the podcast. But obviously, Kevin has to put the thing up. So shout out to him for doing everybody's job. But we're also joined by the newest edition of the Mercury podcast, Mr. Ballboy himself, Swagless University himself, depends on who you ask, Mr. Gil McGregor. Gil, how the heck are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Just trying to bring swagger to my fine institution, one show at a time. And I'm doing the best that I can. But Monday had a great time at the arena. Friday saw the first home win of the season. I'm excited to talk about it.
Heck yeah, I was so excited. I'm glad you got to go last week because I was, as I've triple booked myself today, I also triple booked myself on Friday. But no worries, everybody. I'll be back in the MMC tomorrow, live, boots on the ground. The PHNX Mercury content will be back and up and running. Boots flesh meeting the dirt, type stuff. I'm not allowed to say that on this show. But we're obviously joined by the best producer at PHNX, Mr. Driving the Bus himself, Kevin Thomas. So shout out to him for existing. I was waiting for the.
You guys are
Just so
on.
in
You guys are on the
sync on
same
this
page. Look
podcast.
at that.
That's what I'm saying. It's easy to be me when you got like A1 co-host, A1 producer, it's just A1 all of it. So shout out to all of you guys. Glad all of you guys are in the chat. We got David, Deborah, the future becomes president, and I'm sure Mr. Guillotine or Mr. G Gertitude or whatever his name is will be joining us in no time to say
Can't
some
wait.
inflammatory things about Alyssa Thomas in the chat, but that's neither here nor there. Be sure to leave a like, thumbs up, 5-star review over your podcast. As Mr. Gill said, the Phoenix Mercury got their first dub at home on Friday. It's kind of screwed me up that I didn't watch the game live. It's the first game in 3 years I have not watched live.
Dang.
Even when I was tapped in from the SZA concert, I was watching that whole thing beginning to end. You know what I mean? But I couldn't get cell reception inside of Arizona Stadium. I'm not sure who I need to talk to about the Wi-Fi connection there, but even my media Wi-Fi wasn't working. So Nate, if you're watching this, what the heck is that? But handed a loss to an undefeated Sky team. And not only that, but it was a close game. And I think, Stephen and I talked last year about just how hard wins are to come by in this league, but then on top of it, how close or how tough it is to come by close games and win them in this league. And so to have gotten away with this one is kind of a big deal. And I can't say that like stone face, like it is kind of a big deal. The Sky are a completely different team than they were at the same time last year. They've got a whole new set of guards. They've got obviously Rakia Jackson, who my prayers go out to. I actually am not sure if an announcement has been made regarding Rakia's status after that Lynx game.
Not yet.
It did? Thank God. Well, I'm just thank God that no announcement has been made that's detrimental yet. Not that what happened to her, because that's terrible. But yeah, the team composure was just different on Friday from what I could see from afar. So like boots on the ground, what did you guys see there on Friday night?
I think one of the big things that I talked about, and I asked Nate Tibbetts about it too, but just like you go through things and you grow through them, you learn your lessons, and that's what the early season is about, especially when it's such an odd circumstance. We talk so much about this team not being complete yet, and how while the wins and losses matter, these early season games do kind of in some ways feel like an extension of the preseason. And you found yourself in a very similar position than you were on Tuesday against the Lynx. This time, you maybe zagged where you zigged the first time. You had the execution on both ends of the floor, offensively and defensively, and then you have Alyssa Thomas, and they don't. And that's what it ultimately came down to. Everything went around her, and she played really well down the stretch, and they followed her lead and got the job done. So was impressed by that, and also got to give you credit. You said it was going to be an 8-point win. Oh, look, the final score was 91-83. Yeah. So, I mean, by my math, 91 minus 83 is 8. So,
got there.
There you go.
True. I would like for you to repeat what it was you said to start your last moment of speaking. You said you did what at the game? You asked who?
I asked Nate Tibbetts.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Good job.
Oh,
look at you. That's the Gil is kicking off the I'm new here, and he's getting himself firmly involved with the things we see.
Working on
it. That's crazy, Kevin. That's crazy. Since you want to be busy over there, we can go ahead and get the keys from Friday's win posted for everybody. And they checked off all of the boxes. They won the rebounding battle. They also did a great job of setting the early tone. Started the game on a double-digit run, ended the game the same way. So they stacked the kill to start it, stacked the kill to end the game. That's exactly what you want to see. And in the middle of all of it, they were also solid with their pick and roll defensive and scheme, but also more than scheme, just execution. I think we saw an active game from them. That was the only way they were going to be able to beat the Chicago Sky, because Lord knows they were met with a lot of resistance from one and only Rickea Jackson, who we hope is okay going forward. But in Friday's game, she was more than okay. She was fairly comfortable. And that's not something you usually say when you are being guarded by Alyssa Thomas. But Rickea got it going, especially in the second half of that game, making things somewhat uncomfortable down the home stretch. They even got back to tying the game going down the final stretch of the fourth quarter. And then Alyssa Thomas said, all right, it's time, put the cape on, and it was pretty much a wrap after that.
I believe you're muted right now, Erika.
Why is this always happening to me? Like, I don't have any I'm so sorry. But they really hit kind of a rhythm in Friday in that fourth quarter defensively that I think kind of hadn't been touched in another game thus far. And even the first quarter, like when I was watching the game back this morning so I could host this podcast today, I mean, first possession, Yoyo Nogic goes in for a steal that, I mean, I don't know that we would have seen her try even attempt the same style of play a week ago. And like, these are just like some of the things that the team has been able to kind of put together over the course of having practice for 3 days as opposed to having no practice in 5 days. And so I think, just the way that they were able to close that game out, the way they were able to kind of put the defensive stamp all the way around on that game, other than maybe letting Rickea Jackson go off for more than, was necessary. If you're a Mercury fan, I think it was really impressive to me.
I mean, yeah, she had to work for it, but she was definitely up to the task of working for it. And I think Tyler Marsh did some fun stuff with her in the second half that I hope they're able to continue doing the rest of this season. But yeah, that was a feisty performance from the Mercury, and I know it wasn't the loudest game on the box score, but we talked about this before the game, Gil. Natasha Mack has had some good moments against the one and only Camila Cardoso. That's not something that you say about many people. Right. Mack is not an advantage in height or in size in that particular matchup at all, as most people aren't when it comes to guarding Camila Cardoso. Mm-hmm. First possession of the game defensively, who's involved with things? You got Mack protecting the rim on multiple occasions from that point throughout the duration of her game, because she did end up fouling out a little bit past the halfway point of the fourth quarter. But Mack was highly, highly active, just deterring shots, blocking shots, deflections, just all of the little things you want from her in particular to help the advantages that she does provide her team kind of be impactful in the game. And I think that was another kind of stepping stone moment of growth in a way that she's shown to be able to sustain for pretty much a season now.
And coming into the game, I was worried about Camilla's ability to not necessarily dominate with her scoring, but on the glass. And you mentioned it already. Won the rebounding battle 40-27 in that game, and she had 8. She led the team with 8 boards, but it wasn't the presence felt. It wasn't like, creating second and third opportunities for the team as much as I feared she was going to be able to do that. So got to give Mac a lot of credit. And Kev posted, text us about during the game. It's like, man, Mac's activity has been ridiculous right
It's
now. The Mactivity has been great right now, and obviously jumped off the court like Kev was in the suites, and he saw it from the suites with the big timers, watching it from there, and he saw it from there. So to kind of see all those things from to jump off the page that way, and you win a game despite not necessarily having a trademark Kalia Copper game, despite shooting 6 of 21 from beyond the arc, and despite shooting worse from the field than your opponent did, but it was getting to the line and making them pay when you were at the line, and they did it a lot. But it didn't really feel like the game flow was messed up. Like it didn't feel like there were 67 free throws taken in the game. It didn't really feel like that, but maybe that's just because we've just gotten used to this being the new norm in the W.
Fair. That's fair.
The new norm, and meanwhile I'm at home disgusted by the amount of free throws I just witnessed today while I was watching the game. So it was I was obviously thankful that the calls were made, and you have to look at other games sometimes and say like, oh well, that game got out of control, so thank God ours didn't. Like you have to give and take with it, but man, it's been a lot of give in terms of watching the fouling situation. But I do have to come back because Kevin was in the suite.
We all it's big time. He's on the suite getting posted by them on socials. Like, just don't forget us, brother.
Kevin, I'll remember this moment when I have courtside seats again in the finals.
Well,
you know what I mean?
full transparency, if I'm to do more than just say T for behind Kalia Copper's voice. My girlfriend's friend was singing the national anthem, and so they had extra suite tickets, and we got those 2 extra tickets. Right. So it was pretty good.
You.
Sean in the chat wants to ask about the spread. The spread was pretty good. It was pretty good. Free beer, pretty good. I take those.
I'm happy for Kevin, but like I said, hashtag remembering, hashtag noticing, hashtag disalignment,
hashtag big time.
Or whatever. Yeah, that part. Kevin's big timing me, and I understand. It's only been 2 years together, Kevin. Us just working so hard, and
they had a
whatever
guy up there.
Okay, rub it in, brother. Rub it in.
This is just getting worse and worse, man. What the heck? Here, meanwhile, I thought we were best of friends, man. Whatever. But we can't talk about Friday's dub without obviously mentioning Jovana Nogic and the type of performance she's had through 4 games for the Phoenix Mercury. And, this ties into my last segment. So wait for the callback later in about 25 minutes. But, highest scoring undrafted rookie in the WNBA right now. I would argue that nobody was expecting this level of impact from her. And I guess when I say nobody, I do mean like the casuals. If you looked into her and her stats in Russia and this, that, and the other, then yeah, you might have expected this. But the casual Mercury fan who probably doesn't, watch overseas basketball all that often was probably not expecting this type of performance from Yoyo, but she's quickly earned the trust of those around her, whether that be AT and Dewana Bonner, Kalia Copper, Natasha Mack, and you saw in that moment on Friday's game when, Yoyo passes to Mack on the inside, Mack misses the lay-in, gets the rebound herself, and she apologizes to Yoyo on socials after the game because she caused Nogic to have 1 less assist on the board there. So I think that it's very impressive what she's been able to do, especially on such a veteran-heavy team, because while Valu is newer to the Mercury, she isn't new to playing with these, caliber of players. And so the way that she's able to kind of step out and make a name for herself in the WNBA in just 4 short games is pretty impressive.
It definitely is. I think 2 of the biggest things comfort-wise for me, because she obviously was, Kevin, we can go ahead and just get to Yoyo speaking about the green light being conceded to her from her coaches as well as her teammates and how that's infused confidence in her game. And here's what she had to say about that in post-game.
I mean, for a shooter, that means everything, having the confidence to shoot, because when you're double thinking it, it's a halfway to a miss, or at least that's how I think it. So yeah, of course, when your coach gives you confidence to shoot it and have the freedom to shoot it, it makes your job a lot easier as a shooter.
So I think that green light that she's earned on arrival in the most literal of senses. But I think past that shooting of the basketball, y'all know who led the team in free throws?
On
Friday? Yeah.
I know.
There was a lot of free throw shots.
I was gonna say, I know.
Y'all know who led the team in free throws?
I want to say Kata.
I know Nogic had 11,
right?
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think. No, I don't. It wasn't Kyle with 11.
Jovana Nogic took 11 free throws.
I'm looking
She
at
had
it.
one more. Kalia was 10 for 10.
10 for 11.
Yep. And she went 10 for 11. And she missed one of the late free throw attempts.
When they were
in the
fouling,
game.
just like fouling.
That, I think more than anything else, if you want to kind of look at, okay, is a player comfortable? Have they earned and been conceded that creative, artistic freedom to see space, see opportunity, explore space, explore opportunity? That's where she's at already. And I think that trust being conceded from Alyssa Thomas and Kalia Copper before anybody else as far as players who are available in the game, that says a lot. Those 11 free throws meant she was putting pressure on the Chicago Sky that they weren't able to combat over the course of that game. And not only did she lead the game in free throw attempts, she was also second in terms of scoring, only because Rickea Jackson decided to explode in the fourth quarter of that game. Nonetheless, Jovana, I think she's so much more than just a shooter. Like, the shooting is the top tier piece, and that's what caught everyone's attention first. But look at what she's doing with the dribble. She's in pick and roll, probing, bending a coverage to the point where they have to make a decision. And then usually that decision, she's able to counter it, whether it be with her shot herself getting to the rim, a literal three-point shot if you're going under, which those need to stop and probably will be stopping relatively soon, or she's making passes to teammates, whether it be in pick and roll or just outside of her driving. She's a problem. And I think she's a riddle for teams to solve. Teams are going to start trying things soon. And I'm looking forward to seeing how she responds to those. But for her to have 11 free throws and be leading the team in terms of those different dynamics of it, you got two All-Stars, two All-Olympians, gold medalists. Hey, man, that's a good start.
I know it's a very small sample size, but it's ridiculous to see somebody shooting 65% from three-point range to start the season, which is just absolutely crazy. And, I want to talk about that part of it, but the other part that I wanted to point out, and I noticed it during the Minnesota game, which wasn't her best, and she talked about putting it in the pass and bouncing back from that, but the activity defensively, active hands, whether it's a couple deflections or just heating the ball up a little bit. And AT said it post-game, like, look, she comes from a country and a place for a national team in Serbia where they defend. They have to defend. And then you fast forward here, you're not going to play, and they're not going to trust you and give you the ball offensively if you don't take care of business and do your job on that end of the floor. So that stands out a lot to me because I see that sense of, there are certain players that when they're active, it keeps them going. And I think that she is that type of player as far as the activity. And I don't know if it's too soon or maybe this isn't a conversation to have, but it doesn't get lost on me that the one game she came off the bench was the game she struggled. And that rotation rhythm that she has immediately, there's still people coming back. And I'm curious if it's going to make for some tough questions if you're going to get these two different versions of her as a starter and as a reserve. Granted, 3 games versus 1 game. We're 4 games in the season. But that definitely crossed my mind when she came out playing the way she played on Friday.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the problem all coaches would love to have right there. Man, I don't know who to start. I got so many options. I have no real wrong answers based off the data that we have to assess things from, but also off of the eye test and impact that comes with it. I'm sure Nate Tibbetts was probably okay with whichever direction they go. It seems like there's 3 different options. There's Valu starting, and there's Nogic starting, and then obviously Monique Akoa Makani, the mainstay. I think that's really what's going to factor into things when it comes to closing. And them having 3 different ways in which they can close it. If you need to score, you can throw Nogic in there. If you need some bigger defenders, more switchable lineup, you can have Valu out there. And then obviously for any other lineup or any one of those 3, you could throw Monique out there. Got to the finals with her starting last season and closing. I imagine that's not a bad option to have at all. So that's fun. 3 plays come to mind for me from Nogic, though, to your point on defense from Friday's win. There's a play where she got a deflection where they were in pick and roll defense and she wasn't directly involved. She just got in the gap early, was able to get back out to the anticipated pass after taking away that gap, gets that deflection. The second one was they Jaws picking up, and now you got them working in the late clock. She gets a peel switch off the corner, and they end up forcing a shot clock violation shortly thereafter because she stops the threatening drive and kind of flattens things out. And then the other one for me was, I forgot what quarter it was, Camila Cardoso's trying to run down court in transition, and Nogic, because Cardoso is trying to look around for the ball to make sure she's seeing if she's going to be available, just slides right in, like our 2 favorite players, and just gives up her body for the team and ends up getting the charge in transition, and that kind of breaks up the momentum that Chicago was working to try to establish. That's a player that's bought in. I don't know too many shooters that can also couple as being not just smart defenders, but defenders that can provide impact in different capacities. She's going to be challenged a whole lot more going forward, so I don't want us to speak as if she's an all-W caliber defender, but I think she's smart, and I think the buy-in is that we've also seen her not just give up her body, but also be active with her hands and things like that defensively to be in full alignment with what Alyssa Thomas and Kahleah Copper have set as a standard for the franchise.
Well, and actually, I'm kind of glad you mentioned the fact that like teams are going to start throwing different stuff at her pretty shortly because she has earned her deserved spot on that scouting report. How do you like with Monique Akoa Makani seemingly probably coming back here shortly, and then obviously listen. I am a Wildcat bias through and through. Everybody on this podcast knows it, but earlier in the year, Nick Urin mentioned the addition of a Helena Pueyo coming to this team. And so I have to believe that Helena would be filling a similar role to what Yoyo is probably doing right now. And so it just lends itself to quite a bit of questions as to what their plan probably is. So I guess from what you guys have kind of heard over the last couple of weeks in practice and in game press conferences, how do you think that everything's going to be affected with at least the addition of Monique Akoa Makani?
I think it's just going to be an embarrassment of riches. You can try, I imagine teams are going to start to extend their pickup points with Jovana and be much more intentional about not allowing her to fill airspace in transition, even if Alyssa Thomas has the ball. Because she's knocked down one too many wide open catch and shoot threes in transition where you see Alyssa make the pass and you see who it's going to, and you're like, okay, this is more than likely going in considering what she's shooting from deep to start the season. I imagine that's something that every coach has come into games after the game against the Aces saying, we can't have this. And every team's conceded some of those things that they just said they can't have at multiple moments over the course of the game. So extending pickup points and not allowing her to fill airspace, stop going under picks when she's handling in pick and roll. I imagine those are probably the 2 most chief things that we'll have to see her kind of work through. And I think the physicality on the WNBA stage that comes with that. And then I think teams are going to also look to try to involve her in more action defensively to kind of make her guard the ball a little bit more. But my rebuttal to that is you can do that in the short term, but when it comes to this team being healthy and whole in the guard group, meaning that Sammy's back and Monique Akoa Makani's back, while also having one, if not both, of Alyssa Thomas and Kahleah Copper on the court, like who has the defensive capital to be able to give those types of depths of coverage and attention to Nogic while also still holding in check in some capacity Kahleah Copper and Alyssa Thomas? I feel like there's maybe only 2 teams in the league that can do that. And even they'd be stretched thin on their personnel with Nogic still being able to kind of get to her spot. So it's an embarrassment of riches for me. I think that's the thing.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that too, like the return from injury. Like I was thinking about Sammy down the horizon as well. But you said embarrassment of riches, good problem to have. And when you think about on the flip side of it too, when you think you want to play a certain style and want to kind of continue to play, we talk about this so much. Depth is such a great thing to have because it allows you to continue to sustain a high level of effort and a high level of play without tiring your players out. And it's never a problem to have good players. You got to figure out where to put the pieces and how to put the pieces together. But I think we trust the brain trust to figure that part out as it goes. Now, it might not look good right away, but AT said it post game, like that's what these early season games are for, because when you get to game 25 and game 30 and you're rounding corner to the postseason, you want to have it all figured out. So if there's any time for right now to start incorporating people, figuring out how you want your rotations to be and how you want to adapt, and obviously knock on wood, but we're dealing with it right now when you deal with an injury, this team is in a better spot because of the depth pieces that they have, because they are missing a very key player right now due to injury, in addition to other reasons that they've missed players to start this season. So you never know what happens. This is, a physical game. Somebody can go down for a couple games. You have somebody to step up. You could be in a playoff game on the road and somebody gets in foul trouble early and you need somebody to come in and step up. Having these different pieces and having them in positions where they can get very, very valuable reps at this point in time is going to be paid back tenfold once the season goes on.
I mean, we saw that a great example of that literally last year in 2025 with probably nobody a better example of that than Kat Westbeld and Lexi Held, who will be back in Mountain America Credit. They won't be back in Mountain America Credit Union. They'll be back in Mortgage Matchup Center. My bad, everybody. Getting the Mercury M's mixed up a little bit there. But they really found their footing in the league in those first, 10 games of the season when Kalia Copper's out, Natasha Mack's not whole, so on and so forth. You got various players missing various games for various reasons. And so, we've seen that work out in real time for the Phoenix Mercury. We've seen it work out for Nate Tibbetts, and we've seen it work out long term for them as, Monique Akoa Makani comes back for probably her starting point guard position, and just the type of dividends it can pay you when you give these players meaningful reps early in the season. So I'm very excited, and I'm very excited about where this team is at defensively right now. Obviously, both of you guys have said, there's a lot to learn, a lot to get better at, and while, we're talking about the defensive end, Kalia Copper has kind of struggled at the beginning of the season here, but that hasn't swayed her from her, I don't want to call it energy because that feels like a participation award in terms of defense, but in terms of her defensive grit and willingness to go out and, kind of to your guys' point, lay her body on the line, it hasn't ever, swayed despite her shot maybe not falling the way she would have liked it through these first 4 games. So I'm very impressed with where the defense is at as of today, 4 games in.
Kaz, the defense has been there.
She's a lot.
There is nothing to question about that front. She's fighting through screens and navigating through space, and playing with multiple efforts defensively in the ways that Nate expects, probably, and then some, to be honest. I think Alyssa has also been excited about Nogic and the opportunity, as well as the level of execution that she showed in Friday's win over the Chicago Sky. Kevin, if we could go ahead and get that clip loaded up and listen to AT speak on how impressed she's been with Jovana's start to the season.
Yeah, I mean, I've played against her. I know what she's about. I mean, she's Serbian, so you know how they play defense. So I'm very familiar with her style of play, and just very excited to have her here. I think it's players like this that get overlooked and missed, and I think she's been doing amazing things overseas. So just super happy for her to have this opportunity. She's more than ready, and that's what's great about Phoenix. They go find players that have talent, that have been overlooked, and bring them here. And I mean, people are surprised when we have players come and shoot the way that they do, but that's just credit to our staff.
Last question, Julia.
I think a very fitting shout out to the front office and scouting department from Alyssa Thomas, because we talk about it so much. They do it again. They've done it again. And I think that it's 2 parts to it, right? It's the eye of that they have, the be able to identify talent that will fit within the system and figure out how that's going to work. But also, you think about it. We've talked about Valu, somebody who played with Alyssa Thomas. You talk about Yoyo, somebody who played against Alyssa Thomas. Of course, the word of mouth is ultimately, you ask your franchise players, you seen this person play before? What do you think? Can they fit here? Can they play at this level? Can they contribute at this level, at a high level? And ultimately, all of that goes into it, and we're starting to see what that looks like in the results there. And to hear her confirm that in some ways, and talking about knowing that this player is going to meet what we are going to demand from them and also help us play winning basketball. And even Nate Tibbetts said, nobody would have expected her to come in and break records immediately right away. This is the absolute best case scenario, but you give yourself a chance to have that best case scenario by seeing what this player could be capable of, how they fit, and then trusting their peers' word on it, because their opinion is super important, because they're the ones that's going to be playing with them between the lines.
Yeah, like AT said, she knows what she's about because she's gone up against her. Body of work is your resume as an athlete. And I think there's no better kind of respect level received than to have someone say, hey, I like the way you play. You should come play with my team. And it makes me curious about the inner workings of the international scouting department for the Mercury, because obviously they have delegates. We played the clip last week from Cheryl Reeve talking about everywhere she went for the last 2 seasons or off season, she's all just ran into Nick Urin and the international scouting staff for the Mercury. So they're clearly heavily involved and literally on foreign soil to go and assess these players in their different playing environments. But I also wonder if there was a meeting of the minds, if you will, with Alyssa Thomas having the breadth of international basketball experience playing overseas, where they maybe met and said, hey, do you have any names in mind of players that either caught your attention for what they did with you or that stood out when you went against them? And then they go and maybe do the intel work and see what those players look like since the last time AT either played with or against said players. And then they kind of meet and see where they're at with that. I wonder how heavily she was involved, because Alyssa has, I think that's a weapon that not all teams have. Asia's a sensational player. Asia doesn't play overseas. Now, she has a specific group of reasons why she hasn't had to, and I will leave that alone because I do not count pockets. But she hasn't had to because of the ways that she's been kind of insulated in that capacity. Other players have had to kind of grind it out a little bit over the years, and it ultimately becomes an advantage because of the breadth of just the way your mind opens up to, okay, there's a lot of talent there. This specific country has a certain type of guards that come with a certain skill set and approach. That's something we could use here. Run into Monique Akoa Makani in the mix of all that. Like, all of this stuff adds up, and I imagine AT played, even if it was just 5% of, yeah, I remember playing against this player. I like the way they played. That's all of the cosign that the front office needs when trying to condense a list of names down to just a few and then making a decision on 1 or 2 and proceeding forward.
Well, and I'm glad you guys brought him up because I do want to talk about him for just a quick second about the article tweet that Mark Stein put out earlier today in regards to Nick Urin being kind of in the running, I guess, a name brought up in conversations for the front office opening over at the Philadelphia 76ers. And I'm going to be honest, I'm going to play stupid here because I really I'm not invested in the NBA like you guys. You guys are the experts when it comes to this topic for me. So I'm going to kind of throw it over to you guys because frankly, like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the chances are in the first place, obviously, but then obviously I'm pretty unfamiliar with the inner workings of the 76ers, so I don't want to put my foot in my mouth regarding this. Obviously, it would be a big hit for the Mercury. I mean, last year, Steven and I spent 50% of the year talking about GM of the year being Nick Urin, and, you know, he was probably still slighted from that award. I'm probably still bitter about it. I probably shouldn't say probably because I'm not probably still slighted about it. I am still slighted about it. So, you know, he's been formidable when it comes to everything that the Mercury have been doing over the last 2 years, especially like we talked about at the beginning of last season, like how hard really was it to, you know, form a team of shooters around the likes of Alyssa Thomas. And he did that in, I mean, to your point, Steven, like an embarrassment of riches. Yeah, an embarrassment of shooters for AT to pass to get those assists that she's so widely well known for. So I guess I'm looking for your guys' thoughts on this and like what you guys think of the news that came out today from Mark Stein.
Yeah, that's that. I mean, first of all, congrats to Nick. Congrats to Nick first before anything, because when you're good at your job, you're going to be wanted. And he's been sensational at his job since coming to Phoenix in 23. Obviously being involved with the hire of Nate Tibbetts because of their pre-existing relationship and things like that. And the way that they've moved in lockstep with one another, from getting the most out of what was that final season with Diana Taurasi and Brittany Griner to ultimately pivoting to the Kalia Copper era that ultimately netted them Alyssa Thomas to go with Kalia, bringing in Satu, and also kind of finding the right types of people to bring in around these players, more than just the talent, Because you can look at numbers and spreadsheets, and it will never equate to what pieces, how they fit as humans together. And the Mercury don't get to the finals last season without the numbers and analytics that they use to assess talent and how those talents would fit. But even more than that, they don't navigate the adversities and injuries and things like that without nailing the people part to the extent at which they did. So that would be a significant blow to have a general manager that's been in lockstep with the head coach and making these decisions and building what they've built to this point now. That would hurt to have that go out the door. Even if someone that was good at their job came in place of him, that would be tough because you just can't replicate that type of, we've been through the fire together. There's a different type of connection and synergy there.
Yeah, and as for how realistic a move could be, I think there's always a chance. I think, as you said, you get considered for other things when you are doing a good job in your current role. And the Sixers made some changes in their front office, and what was pointed out, and I know we kind of talked about it, but Nick came from Golden State. Mm-hmm. The person that is running the search in Philadelphia is Bob Myers, who we all know for orchestrating Golden State. And there's one way of saying, oh, it's a done deal, but on the other way, it could just be like, look, he knows the body of work that he has, and this could just be some consideration for that reason. So I wouldn't say it's something to read too much into, but that could be famous last words, and then it should have been something that you should have read too much into. But I think that ultimately what you see in the name of the game, when you see people get executive positions oftentimes, it's somebody who's not afraid to think outside of the box, and somebody who is forward thinking, and somebody who has the body of work that suggests that both of those things are true. I think about what the Bulls just did, and grabbing somebody who was once an intern 15 years ago in the front office in New Orleans, and now is the president of basketball operations in Chicago. So it's always cool to see the success stories, and I think, again, when you have a good team, a successful team, and somebody's good at doing their job, you're always going to deal with the threat of them moving on and moving forward. But I won't say sound the alarm just yet, but I would say be aware of what could happen down the line.
Yeah, keep it heavily in mind, because I think that for who the coach is in Philadelphia, Nick Nurse, there's a lot of similarities between the lens that Nick Nurse looks at the game through and the lens that Nate Tibbetts and company have looked at the game through, as far as being defensive-minded, being forward-thinking in the approach to defense. And obviously Nick has struck a great accord with someone that thinks that way. So you add the Bob Myers dynamic to it. Just keep it heavily in mind. It would hurt to see him go, but obviously you do such a great job in one situation, is going to attract more attention. Happens with players all the time. Happens with assistant coaches. And it would just be kind of part of the process, unfortunately, but definitely something to keep in mind going forward for sure.
Can I just say it really stinks, the schedule of it all? Obviously, in college basketball, it's the same kind of thing where you have players in the transfer portal while the tournament's still going on, so on and so forth. I guess they try to fix it a little bit this year, but with coaches bouncing from league to league, which is becoming more and more of a thing that you see with the Seattle Storm. There's a assistant for the Mercury that came from the Grizzlies. There's all sorts of league jumping, and so it does make for a tough situation if you're trying to go back to the NBA from the WNBA, when it's currently the WNBA season right now, and there's still quite a lot of tough decisions to be made. But we're going to get into a little bit more of this conversation, plus a little bit of a preview for tomorrow's game versus the Toronto Tempo for the very first time here on the other side of this quick break here on the PHNX Mercury podcast. Guys, Mountain America Credit Union, look at me not getting my M's mixed up. The exclusive home of the Phoenix Mercury card. You see that? My shirt and this card, it's very good looking. They all match. Everything looks the same. It looks nice. It looks real nice. But they're going to get the new logo in no time. I'm sure of that. Get these elite cards from the official credit union of the Phoenix Mercury, available as both credit and debit cards. Even better, take advantage of a special checking and credit card promotion only for Phoenix Mercury fans. Get a $200 bonus when you open up a Mercury credit card and a MyStyle checking account. There is no annual credit fee. Credit cards available as low rate, cashback, or rewards card options. MySell accounts unlock extra benefits like telehealth access, loan rate discounts, and mobile phone protection. Mountain America Credit Union is here to guide you forward on your financial journey. Get your Mercury card today and score your $200 bonus. Apply at any Arizona branch. My goodness. Visit macu.com/Mercury200 to learn more. Insured by NCUA. Membership required based on eligibility. This limited time offer ends December 31st and can be changed or withdrawn at any time. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Loans on approved credit. Bang. And I'm so excited to have these fine individuals back on our show. My friends over at Circle K, our friends over at Circle K. I'll be honest, I'm not sure that anyone buys more fuel at Circle K than I do. I spend a heck of a lot of time in my car, whether that's driving to Phoenix tomorrow to go see the Tempo and the Mercury, driving to my job that's 45 minutes away from my house. I spend so much money on gas, and you know who helps me make sure I spend a little less money on gas? The Inner Circle Rewards program. You just put in your little phone number at the pump, boom, 10 cents off every time for me. You could go. I don't even know what the new fuel thing was anymore, and this doesn't tell me, so save 25 cents a gallon when you buy 3 Coca-Cola 20-ounce products. See, 25 cents off gallon. You can get so many deals. I just put in my little phone number and I get 10 cents off every single time. I think it's every 5th fill up I get 30 cents off. I mean, the deals just come out of the wazoo. They never stop. You get discounted on fuel. You get access to early access to fuel days and it's always on Thursdays. It's just depends on if it's the early Thursday or the late Thursday of the month as to where the fuel day is going to lie and how you got to plan your fuel trips. So just be on the lookout on the app because they've got all the information. It's super easy to join. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. See, the
Erika,
little read thing. What?
May I interrupt? Sean,
Are you telling me to take a breath?
No, Sean in the chat brings up something that I know you'd appreciate.
Ah!
Carter Bryant hit a 3 in the Western Conference Finals. Bear down. This means everything.
This means everything to me. Oh my gosh. Wow, there's a lot of for a girl that doesn't care about the NBA, there has certainly been so much NBA news that I have cared about recently, and that is just detrimental to my mental health. I already watch too much basketball. It already controls my mental health way too much. And yet here I am tuning into the PHNX Suns show so I can see if my, franchise player is going to get traded from the Memphis Grizzlies to come to the Suns. My heart is hurting, but it's okay. Neither here nor there. I'm very excited. Shout out to Sean for letting us know in the chat. It means everything to me. It means everything to Kevin. And thanks for saying that. It goes to Erika too, but she's in an ad read. Appreciate
Carter
you.
Bryant is here to mend all broken and hurting hearts.
I will say he has done that for me 2 years in a row now. You know what I mean? It's tough to be Carter Bryant and have that much pressure on him. But I just have to say really quick, how excited
Someone
I was.
tweeted that Carter Bryant should be the next logo of the NBA, by the way. Speaking of pressure. That's a real tweet. I retweeted it. It's real.
Wow.
Sure.
Mr. Aura?
Wow.
I mean, make him the logo. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Wow.
They don't get it like we do. They don't get it like we do, Kevin. I remember where I was when Carter Bryant wore the headband last year. I remember what I was doing. I remember, actually, I was at McHale, so it's not that hard to remember what I was doing. It was pretty easy. Nonetheless, I'm actually glad we got that Nick Ewing conversation out of the way because I was kind of dreading it. Just, to your point, Steven, it's hard to, and I don't like to say this word on this show because I feel like you guys have probably wore it out this year on the Sun show, but the alignment that Nick and Nate just walk in is
there you go. Good job. Look at you.
Sorry.
Hey, Freckle Mamba's my boy. Secret stay in the production family. I know what it is.
I missed it. I see. This is why I have to come back in person. I feel so much FOMO and sadness right now. I was having a better time after we started this podcast.
Every A word gets a ding.
No, not every. No,
well,
absolutely not.
Every time you say a specific A word is what I meant.
There you go. Yeah, because not all A words are created
A word,
equal,
though.
Kevin.
It's not like, come on, man.
Just to say the A word.
Not
the
all
one that
A
Erika
words.
just said.
Yes.
Yes, correct.
Yes. Brian
Wow.
Gregory. Anyway.
See, welcome back to the PHNX Mercury podcast, where we have super solid basketball takes and incredible sound effects. The alignment that they step with is just it's really next to no one. When I think into basketball relationships that you see, just what they the vision that they see and how it's executed is very, very special stuff. So it will be tough if he goes. I'm going to like pray to the Christy Tolliver gods that like he just gets passed over this one time. You know what I mean? Like we kind of say this every offseason about Christy Tolliver being likely to leave, and then somehow by the grace of God, she gets to stay with us. So I always hope that they get promotions, obviously, but I always hope it's internally. And I'm not sure if there's a promotion from general manager. Not really sure about that. So nonetheless, though, I do want to preview the Toronto Tempo game, but I think we should talk about Balu Ayayi really quickly and just her comfortability with the team. I think there was a lot of question marks from our watchers, our viewers, about her role and just kind of what to expect. And obviously she started in that game versus the Minnesota Lynx, and then she came off the bench on Friday versus the Chicago Sky. What did you guys kind of notice, and what did you take away from what was talked about after the game as well?
I think it kind of goes back to, and it stood out more on Tuesday than Friday, but I mean, this is the first reps, and she's learning a lot on the fly. Obviously, having pre-existing chemistry with AT helps, but it's a new game, it's a new league, it's different, and you're in just a different situation with different people around you. So you're seeing that happen in real time. There's some things that we're seeing, just like timing's off, and stuff that's just going to correct itself. But the biggest thing is that it's going to correct itself. I'm not concerned or worried in any way, shape, form, or fashion. I'm excited to have this conversation again. And not that any of us are panicking about it, but I think that I'm excited that, and get another 6 or 8 games under her belt. And we're having a conversation about, like, oh, they did it again. Look how she did this and did that. And she's still finding ways to do impactful things. It's just I think that impact is going to increase exponentially as I'm getting deflections. I'm getting deflections over here too.
You getting your value on.
You see what I'm saying?
Out, man. I think you made a good point with the newness. And we can both attest to this. You're in literally a new city or a new state. Imagine being in a new country though. Yeah. With daughter. Like that's a lot. That is a whole lot to deal with, to where the human side is going to trump the basketball side, because as a human, if you're just not fully comfortable, even if the commodity that you're working with is doing the most to make you feel as comfortable as quick as possible, it's just not going to come until there's like familiarity with the situation that you're in, that you're able to then go in and start to be the best versions of yourself and then get up to speed and then provide to the team the way that you desire to. So I think that human side kind of trumps everything at this moment. I'm not off the porch in terms of Valu's potential as a WNBA player and with the Phoenix Mercury. I think all of that in one sweeping blow is going to come in time. Once she kind of gets her feet underneath her in terms of being here in Arizona or just being here stateside in general, it's going to take a little bit. She might have some games where she has like maybe a 2 or 3 game stretch where it's like she looks like herself now. And then there might be another kind of 1 or 2 games where there's some variance there. I'm not worried about her at all in any capacity. I think they nailed it on the human being side. We've talked about players just loving the way she goes about work every day. In the most basic and simple of form of that, I think that's something you can naturally build off of. Even when she's not at her individual best, she's still finding ways to give to the team. And she did kind of talk about just some of the ups and downs that she's kind of worked through these first 4 games with the Phoenix Mercury when she spoke with us at practice yesterday. Here was everything she had to say, kind of speaking to that.
It's frustrating not to be able to play the game I would like to play for the team, or not to be able to bring everything I would like to bring yet, but I'm confident that that's the process. The journey is still long and it will come from me. Yeah, I mean, this is also why I chose Phoenix, I know this is kind of a family, so yeah, they are supporting me. I'm super grateful for this group, the people, the staff, the players. It's really helping me. But yeah, I tend to be too hard on myself, but because I want the best for the team, so yeah.
Yeah, she's been touted as being very hard on herself, but it comes as that because she has expectations, not just for herself. But she also mentioned in her first time speaking with media, like, come in, you see the brand new facility, you see who's face and logo is plastered all over the place in terms of Diana Taurasi, but you also see those 3 rings they got, those 3 championships that they have for the franchise, and she's like, there's a standard in place here. She comes with her own standards, having won multiple championships overseas. She wants to bring that same thing that she's brought to the national team and her individual teams overseas, stateside here to Phoenix, and she just feels like she hasn't been to that level yet while still extending herself grace, considering the situation that she's in right now.
And there are a lot of ways that players talk about their performance and what they expect of themselves. Obviously, everybody expects a certain level of themselves, but some people don't necessarily peel back the layers and are as transparent about it as she was in that. And I think that says a lot to her character. Not to say that if somebody went about it a different way that they have low character, but her personality in particular and how she fits in with this team, her being a veteran. Obviously she played in the league over a decade ago, so like you can't put so much stock into that. And all the experiences that she's had as a professional basketball player, playing internationally, representing her country over the past 10 plus years, wanting to bring that same impact back and not just making excuses or feeling sorry for herself, but just saying, I want to be better. I know what I'm capable of doing. I'm going to get there. So that inspires confidence in me that we're going to see it. Not that I needed any inspiration of confidence in her, but to hear her talk like that just gives you an idea of the type of player and person that you're dealing with.
I also think, like, Stephen, you make a good point. Like, you don't even know where you're supposed to get your pregame coffee, right? Like, you don't even know where you're supposed to park your car. Like, on the Wing Show, I talked about, like, people visiting these cities for the first time, and, like, that's totally valid in a situation too. But, like, you're visiting your apartment for the first time, and then here's a wrench for you. You can't play because FIBA said it's not yet. And so, her whole entry to the Phoenix Mercury was kind of a big wrench thrown in her way. And I'm interested to see when she's kind of like separated herself from this entire situation, which clearly and for good reason bothered her. I am excited to kind of see her step into herself in a much more confident way. And I think confidence is everything. And when you're playing alongside the likes of AT, Kalia Copper, Duana Bonner, like, these are big name players, and so you have to have confidence to play alongside them. And she's obviously knows the type of player she can be, what she can give to this team, and she wants to give that at the highest version of herself. And so, and you guys took the word straight out of my mouth. Like, I'm not off the train. Like, this is still a train that I will be happily chugging along with for the next 35 games until someone gives me a good reason not to. So I'm excited to see how that relationship kind of grows. Before I move on to previewing the Toronto Tempo, is there anything else?
Yeah, I was going to say shout out to her and Yoyo. You talk about adjustments and stuff, and Nate kind of talked about it a little bit, and then she was asked about it, but Yoyo had to go to Vancouver to like deal with the visa issue the day before she goes to Vegas and having the performance that she had. She was in Canada and then had to come back to do all of that. So I didn't really know like the specifics. I've never had to deal with work visa issues. I'd imagine that when you're trying to just focus on, your rhythm and your shot falling the way that you want it to fall, having to deal with something like that, having to travel from here and there. She didn't really specify, but I'm pretty sure she had to go to Vancouver, Canada. I don't think it was Vancouver, Washington, but wherever it was, she went to Vancouver in between going and then playing. And we saw the performance that she had. You would have never known that was something that she was dealing with basically like in the 24, 36 hours before having to do that. So, the things that you don't necessarily consider oftentimes, and I think that we're good about it. I think the people in our community are good about it, but sometimes on the outside, you forget about the human element of everything, whether it's getting your coffee, whether it's having to go travel somewhere else on your own and being away from the team to make sure your work visa that you can work in another country is all set too. So, the fact that they're performing at any level, but the fact that they're making contributions and impacting winning while dealing with this as well, big tip of the cap to both of them.
Yeah, I'll just add to that time zone difference.
Yeah.
Like all of that stuff, like that impacts your pattern of rest. If we're getting to the next level of talking, all of that stuff matters, and it just kind of adds up. I imagine coming from overseas, stateside, you got to figure out your car situation. Like, not just getting around, like learning the area, but you have to have a vehicle to get around. Yeah. Like, so you have to handle all of these things while still focusing on learning your teammates, your team style of play, and the game plan for opponents as far as scouting goes. That's a lot. That's a whole lot. Add Noemi Brochant to that mix in conversation as well, and Kiara Linskins for that matter. Like, these are all 4 of these players have been firmly in the rotation for the Mercury in each of their first 4 games. It's a lot to deal with. So salute to those women for having the mental fortitude and ability to just kind of stay focused on where their feet are on the court at that time when we're seeing them, and just being able to deliver to the extent that they've shown to so far.
And they suggest they're only going to get better. So it's exciting.
Can you imagine the dietary changes you have to go through coming from a foreign country? I just quickly Googled Serbian food and like none of it looks recognizable to me. And so like I can't imagine coming over here. I bet her tummy's so upset. You know, it's probably so upset. Poor girl.
I'm sure the Mercury whipping up something for her on demand.
I'm sure it's great quality food, but I'm sure it's a little different. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And like you gotta feel for players in that situation. Like I can't imagine if my comfort food was.
I was gonna say food here is different than it is in Chicago.
Yeah, So imagine. So it's different for sure.
For sure.
Okay, well, I'm really excited.
People drive different here than they do in Chicago. We have a whole conversation about this. Good Lord.
I won't get into it. The drivers here are not good, so I won't defend them. So. But we actually have our first ever branded segment on the PHNX Mercury podcast, and I'm so excited if you can't tell. It's actually also presented by our friends over at Mountain America Credit Union, the Credit Check, and we're just going to preview a little bit of this matchup versus Toronto Tempo. 3rd home game for the Phoenix Mercury. Man, we're eating them up. They're already going by so quick. My goodness. The future becomes president. Hot Pockets are the same all over the world. You're so right. My diet wouldn't change. Oh man, that's actually so funny. Thank you for that. I needed that laugh. Woo. I'm gonna start out this preview by talking about none other than Brittany Sykes. This isn't going to be a career scoring year for Brittany Sykes, but it is going to be a career year in terms of assists and help that she's able to provide for her team.
Last night, though.
Yeah. She went off last night. I missed it.
38 last night.
Stop being busy.
Career high 38.
I'm tired of being busy. Can y'all call my calendar and tell it to please stop? I'm actually so tired of this right now. Usually I feel like I watch every single game. Not the point. But Brittany Sykes, just a dynamic guard that's able to kind of get to her spots in a very unique way, and she's also a fantastic defender. She's whatever the opposite of a traffic cone is. That's what Brittany Sykes is. She's annoying I'd imagine anyways. I've never played against her, but she's annoying to play against in terms of the eye test. So I'm excited to see what Nate Tibbetts' answer is for her, because obviously this is a new context for Brittany Sykes. I think in the last 3 years that me and Steven have hosted this podcast, she has changed teams in all 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to be wrong. Bang, I'm right. She changed teams twice last year. That's why. That's why I'm feeling a little fuzzy in my brain. She came from the Mystics, then went to the Storm, and now she's obviously with the Tempo following that expansion draft. And she's kind of the head of the snake for the Tempo right now. Obviously, between her and Marina, someone's going off every game, but in different ways. And Brittany Sykes is annoying traffic designations, clearly a roundabout. Yeah, you're right. Call her a roundabout. Call her whatever you want, but I'm sure she's annoying to play against.
She's a problem. She's been a problem, especially defensively. She took on different leadership last season with the Mystics, but she's just
all-star snub, by the way.
Very loudly so.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me of that. That just opened a whole portal that we don't have time to dive into. Yeah. But yes, migraine induced. Brittany is just a dog through and through. Whenever we talk about the most athletic players in the league, you always hear about Kai, you always hear about Gabby Williams, you always hear about Jackie Young. Brittany Sykes needs to be much more heavily involved in those conversations, because Bree, Slim as they call her, plays to those qualities as well as either of those 4 players that I mentioned on her being in that conversation with as far as most athletic. She plays the same position as those players, has a different set of skills, but I think she wears the qualities of those skills that she does have very well, to the point of drives, because she is an elite driver of the basketball, can go get a paint touch whenever, however she wants. 22 of those yesterday. Career high 38 points, got to the paint, just drive-wise 22 times. You know how many points she generated from her drives yesterday? 30. 30 points, whether it be her scoring on her own accord or assisting teammates to the bigs or out to the shooters that they have in Toronto. Slim is a dog, and she gets downhill as good as anybody in the league. I imagine it's going to be one of those uber athletic Kai guards, most athletic player on the other team, and they just Spider-Man meme each other. But they have some history in terms of competing against one another. I'm looking forward to that matchup tomorrow.
There's a reason that they invested what they invested in her, Marina.
Sure.
And, I think that last year we saw Golden State reinvent what you expect of expansion franchises in general. I think that kind of transcends across sport just because there is so much talent. And if you build the correct way, and we know who they have building there and who's in charge there, they're doing it the right way in Toronto. And looking at what she did last night, it feels like this is going to be a big until, like I said, the new normal is the new normal until it's not. But 15 of 15 from the free throw line, and it looks very similar to what we saw on Friday. They were 39 of 42 as a team getting to the free throw line. But again, that speaks to downhill drives and people having a tough time staying in front and not being able to keep their hands on themselves. All these different things that you're able to do and take advantage of if refs are going to call the game differently. Well, in addition to the dog mentality, the basketball IQ, the feel for the game, how cerebral of a player she is. Again, all those things, you're a problem. So in ways that you have to keep her in check as much as you can and limit her, then you have that's the beginning of your game plan. But they're a team that's built in a way that you have multiple people to worry about.
For sure. And I don't want to – you know what? No, I'm not even going to do that. If you have a 120 defensive rating at any point during the season, it doesn't warrant speaking respectfully on. It helps that the Los Angeles Sparks have not cared about the defensive side of the floor this entire season so far. Not to take away from anything that Brittany Sykes did in their recent matchup, but it helps when the team that you're going against is not meeting you with any lick of resistance.
Yeah.
So you go take as much as you want. Here's the safe. Here's the key. Here's the code. You go ahead and do what you got to do. I'll be back in 15 as long as you're gone when I get back. Take all you can, and that's what Slim did.
Yep.
But her and Marina are very intriguing, kind of top two pieces. Very dynamic. They have very contrasting styles. Marina more perimeter oriented. Slim is much more paint oriented. But it works well playing off of one another. And we saw some of the best versions of what they're hoping to expect from them going forward in last night's win for them over the Sparks.
And obviously, I don't want to negate the player matchups here, but the coaching matchup here is very interesting to me, considering Sandy Brondello, obviously coming from the New York Liberty and the history that New York Liberty and the Phoenix Mercury have kind of had over the last 2 years. Obviously, the Mercury kicked the New York Liberty out. That was in round one of the playoffs last year, right?
Round,
I'm not
It didn't
imagining
feel like
that.
a first round series, but it was.
It
felt
did
like
not.
a finals matchup.
Yeah, so that's the way I remember it, But that was an interesting coaching matchup then, and it's an interesting coaching matchup now. Obviously, Sandy kept Nyara Sabally, which is, I wasn't surprised about that, to be quite honest with you guys. Sandy has always valued what Nyara has brought to the table, and I think that speaks volumes of, like, her confidence in everyone that they've drafted in this expansion draft. But then also, like, Sandy is in a new situation, a new environment with new front office people that kind of help her see out her vision, which I think is exciting for her. And you're seeing it kind of come to fruition. And Gil, I think you made a great point about, like, Golden State did kind of set a new standard for what people expect from expansion teams, and they want to come out. They want to be competitive night in and night out. They don't want people to circle them as easy games on the calendar. And I don't think anyone's able to do that with Toronto just yet.
Correct. We also have to mention we got a couple other people. Sandy's making her Phoenix return. Kia Nurse is making her Phoenix return. You also have two recent Mercury members in Kit Loxley and Lexi Hill returning to Phoenix for the first time wearing a different WNBA jersey. Both players lost by way of the expansion draft. So a homecoming in multiple respects. Will be interesting to see how the game plays out. Toronto definitely poses some challenges that the Mercury will have to answer to. Marina Mabry, very different from Rakia Jackson, also very different from Jackie Young and Chelsea Gray, also very different from Veronica Burton and Gabby Williams. All those players operate in pick and roll often. you got to go and answer that question, and it's going to be a different type of challenge for that. Marina's a lot stronger of a player in terms of when you get caught on her hip, you're in trouble. That's not somewhere you want to be. And you also don't want her just letting threes fly on you at will when she wants to get to her spots as well. She also is a very underrated passer. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the Mercury kind of go towards that matchup in addition to everything that Slim is, which we just got done speaking about. Fun matchup with some fun tests ahead for the Mercury tomorrow.
As you guys look ahead, do you want to make score predictions?
Yeah, let's do it. You want to start? You want me to start?
I went first last time. I think Kevin should go first this time.
I agree.
Yeah.
Bang.
Give me Mercury, 89. Toronto, 79.
Okay. I will go Mercury. Let's go Phoenix 95, Toronto 82. So I'm going with a more comfortable victory for the Mercury this go around.
I'm going to go Phoenix 86, Toronto 80. So still win, but a little bit closer, a little bit lower scoring.
Toronto.
Slightly bit.
Toronto, fam.
Toronto.
I hope they give me a heart palpitation game. You know what I mean? Like one
You
that
want to feel it? You want to feel alive?
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, whew. I'm gonna go with the Mercury 92, tempo 80. That's
okay.
final answer, you guys. Yeah, hit the button. But a little bit of housekeeping before we get out of here really, really quickly. We will be having a post-game show come Thursday for you. Live boots on the ground. I'll actually be in studio. No need to feel FOMO when you're right next to the people that are next to me right now, but only virtually. So I'm really excited about that. And I actually think that's it for now. Do you guys have any housekeeping that I should be remembering?
That Monique Akoa Makani's overseas season has officially wrapped up as of yesterday. Kevin, we can go ahead and get her graphic up for her season that she had over in France. Averaged 8.3 points per game, 4.3 assists, 3.3 rebounds, and 1.5 steals a game. Monique was what she was for that team as she was for the Mercury last season, and that's just one of the driving forces. Also helped play a hefty part in leading that team to the championship round. Sounds ironic.
Familiar.
Sounds very familiar. Yeah, exactly. So Mo had herself a very solid season at the helm of her team over in France. Just kind of operating at the offensive end, kind of getting them set up, and then defensively doing the same things for them that she did for the Mercury all last season as well. So I'm very curious as to when she lands stateside. We did get the unfortunate news, I think it was on Saturday, that Annalise Maley was waived by the franchise, by the Mercury. So I imagine that's a domino that falls to create the room for Monique to return stateside and then be added back to the roster and off of the temporary suspension of her contract, just off of how language is with the new CBA and everything. So I'm curious when she's expected to be back and how quickly they get her back on the court because, to your point earlier, Jovana's playing very well. They can obviously use Monique's facilities, and they certainly would never hesitate to not bring her back when she's ready. But I think rest is an important part of also just traveling from one location overseas to Phoenix, but also having played a full season as well, going the distance in terms of the finals and getting and having be a high usage player and all of that. So I wonder if there's rest involved with her, maybe a week or so, how many days they can actually rest her based off of the contract suspension and all the nuance with that. But it would be fun to see Monique back and smiling on the bench and being a great teammate and obviously contributing on the floor as she did last season.
There were a few players that were more fun to watch succeed last year than Monique Akoa Makani. It was a real pleasure of me, Steven, and obviously Kevin to be able to watch firsthand all season long. And I'm excited to do it again in year 2 and just see how she's grown in her season overseas. I will say
she went from who to her real quick last season. Real quick.
Pin was on fire.
real quick last season. I mean, within 7 to 10 days, it went from who's starting at point guard for the Mercury. First of all, that answer normally should have just been Alyssa Thomas for one. But if not Alyssa, it should have been, okay, let's wait to see what they got. Come out in the first game of the regular season, and she's guarding the likes of Chelsea Gray and Skylar Diggins, who was Diggins-Smith at that time. Like, it just did not matter. Everybody that she was going up against, she was giving them work, and she made a name for herself rather quickly.
Well, I'm real excited to see her come back. Maybe a potential Helena Pueyo debut as a Phoenix Mercury. Obviously, some tough decisions lie ahead for Nick Uren and the Phoenix Mercury. I'm really excited to watch how this all unfolds, wraps up. It's not wraps up. We've got 40 games left to go, so it can't be wrapping up just yet.
Amanda in the chat says she deserves 1 day per time zone, and I don't disagree with that at all, because
I like that.
That's probably 4 time zones? 3 to 4 time zones.
At least.
From France to Arizona. It might be 5?
Because we're back 3 hours from East Coast right now.
They're like 5 hours.
So
it's about 8, 9. Yeah, give it about a week and a half.
I'm not mad at it at all. Not even a little bit.
Light work, no reaction, right? But nonetheless, thank you guys all for joining us on this Monday evening episode of the PHNX Mercury podcast. Be sure to leave a like, thumbs up, 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to PHNX Sports. Oh, I was supposed to plug the D-backs. Gosh, what the heck is this thing called? Takeover. Thank you. My goodness. Does Erika even know English language at this point? No, she doesn't. But yeah, the D-backs takeover. I'm sure Kevin doesn't have the graphic ready because he's not that guy. I don't know what day it is. Kevin, can you at least tell me what day it is?
June 4th?
June 4th.
I think.
Okay.
I'm guessing.
You can go to gophnx.com.
You can go to our events tab for sure.
Yeah, you can go to gophnx.com, go to the events tab. It's probably the first one up there if I were to be an assuming girl. You know, it happens when you make assumptions, but I have to believe in my company that they put things where they're supposed to be on the website. So
the Diamondbacks take over at Chase Field June 4th, 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m.
Some call me the company man.
You can join Derek and PHNX Diehards for 2 D-backs games this season, presented by Circle K.
Wow.
Take over.
What a
It
time.
breaks over.
And it's against the Dodgers, so you could probably really say some mean things to some Dodgers fans.
But keep it nice, though. We don't need no PCA situations happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm cut from the cloth of you get what you give, and when you give that energy and you get it back, regardless
Don't
of
be mad about
in
it.
the work situation or not, don't be mad and don't be trying to, yes. Anyway,
yeah, keep it kosher at the D-backs game. Don't be acting a fool at see, I can't even remember what the dang park that they play at is called right now.
Chase Field.
Chase Field. My gosh, Erika is not with the program today. Someone cancel her for being a stupid head who can't read. But nonetheless, thank you guys. Okay, don't tee that. Watch yourself, man. This is getting hurtful. FOMO from being far away, and now this is feeling very hurtful. I'm feeling sad. Nonetheless, thank you guys all for joining us. Be sure to follow Steven at StevenPG3 on Twitter. You can follow Gil at GilMcGregor_. You can follow our super dope producer, Kevin Thomas, at Kevo Post. You can follow me at Erika Lee Day, and that's spelled with a K. And then you can also follow all of us acting a hoot and a holler together at PHNX_Mercury on Twitter. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Oh,
don't
gosh.
be a fool. Hop in the pool.
Wow.
Steven
should
rapping
write
today.
books. I know. J. Cole is on our podcast right now, but don't tell a friend. Anyways, thanks for joining, and we will see you guys on Thursday for a post-game edition of the PHNX Mercury podcast. Bye!
We all silly like the mayor.